If your content feels solid, if you're proud of it, you're putting it out there, it's getting likes, it's getting comments, but sales are still stalling for you, chances are you're just not walking people through the buyer journey the right way. Today, I'm going to break down what that is step by step so you can spot the gap in your buyer journey that you're creating with your content and fix it so you get more sales. Welcome to Mompreneur Mastery. I'm your host, Sydney O'Brien, an Instagram strategist turned content and messaging strategist after watching the online space get louder, buyers take longer, and content turn into a performance instead of real connection. On this podcast, you'll learn how to clarify your message so your content actually stands out in a sea of copy and paste trends and AI noise, and also how to strategize your content across platforms to build the trust and connection that turns followers into clients. All in doable, brain space saving episodes you can fit in between school pickup and reheating your coffee for the third time. Let's dive in. If you've been with me, either listening to the podcast or on my email list or following me online somewhere, you know I already teach the buyer journey through my 5 steps to sales framework. It's more like a practical version of know, like, trust. So if you are not super new to marketing, you probably have heard of the term know, like, trust. You have to have the know, like, and trust factors before someone is going to buy, right? So the 5 steps that I teach for the buyer journey is the same core idea. It's just clearer milestones so we can make better content decisions, especially when we are using short form content. It is really important there because people need even more repetition and more touch points before they're ready to buy. But now that I have changed my business to be multi-platform marketing and not just Instagram, I still think having the expanded 5 steps are really important because we are also seeing this shift in buyer behavior where people are also taking longer to be ready to invest, where we need more proof, more trust, more connection with our audience. And making sure we're covering these 5 steps helps make sure that we're getting all of those things so we can still get clients and sales from our content. All right. So basically, the buyer journey is a set of steps your audience takes before they're ready to buy. That's it. It's not magic. It's not a hack. It's just a sequence of touch points and moments where people decide you're relevant, you understand them, you are reliable, and your offer is the obvious next step for them. Okay. And like I said, people are taking longer to make buying decisions now. And this is for a number of reasons. There's lots of people in the online business world now. There's lots of options for them. Lots of people are relying very heavily on AI or icky marketing tactics that people are just kind of skeptical of what they're seeing. They don't quite have the trust it takes for them to be ready to invest. The economy is all crazy, so people might be taking longer to decide to buy because of that. There's just so many reasons that go into this, but the fact is everyone's feeling it. It's more important than ever to make sure that we are showing up in each of these 5 steps and getting the touch points we need to be able to find the right people that are ready and willing to work with us. If your content doesn't intentionally give them all of those touch points they need to go from one step to the next in the buyer journey, it's going to take even longer, or you might miss out on the sale altogether, and we don't want that. So I'm going to walk you through each of the 5 steps to sales that I teach, that I use for myself, that I use for my clients. And because I'm no longer strictly Instagram, I'm going to talk about how we can get to each of these 5 steps with multi-platform examples so you can hear how this plays out in real life. Now, in my membership, Content to Clients, yes, it's a new name. We're running with it. Step number 1 has been a big topic of discussion lately because most of my members are moms or just like extremely busy entrepreneurs. They don't want to spend a bunch of time online trying to chase down people to be part of their audience, right? So the first step is growth. It's visibility with the right people specifically. You want to get in front of the people who actually need what you sell. We don't want random views. We don't want to go viral in a niche that isn't ours. We want relevant visibility. So what your audience is thinking here is, who is this and why should I care? So You can absolutely use social media for this. Just make sure, you're using your keywords, you're getting very specific in your content so that you are attracting the right people. We don't want just any people because then they're less likely to follow through on the rest of the buyer journey and you're not going to end up with a sale. You want to attract the right people. So you can use reels, you can use threads, you can use social media for that. Other ways to do this, if you don't want to spend all of your time online, is what I have been doing is podcast guesting. So take a look back at my previous episode with Candace Dudley. She talks a lot about how to do that with intention so you can get in front of the right audience and an audience that's already like warm, which is very nice. You can do lead magnet swaps. There's tons of collaboration type groups online that you can join and find bundles or summits or other people that want to do lead magnet swaps so you can grow your email list that way. You could have your own podcast or a blog optimized for search engine optimization. I'm going to have another episode where I talk to an SEO specialist who explains how to do that a bit. So you have options that don't involve, having to do full production reels or anything. The key is for all of this, knowing your audience and knowing your messaging so it gets to the right people. But there are a bunch of different options. This is, again, it's been something we've been talking about in the membership a lot. And I've been helping people find bundles and summits and freebie swaps and all sorts of things so they can get their stuff in front of the right people. Because that is the very first step that you need, that visibility. But it has to be intentional visibility. From there, you go to step 2, which is engagement, right? You start a two-way conversation. This is moving people from watching to responding. And this doesn't have to be crazy. We're not looking to share life stories or anything. It's just doing some outbound engagement, commenting on other people's posts, replying to their stories online. It could be, when you send your newsletter, ask people a question, ask them to reply answering the question and start a conversation. If you have a podcast or a blog, ask people to send you a DM or send you an email with some answer to a question you posed in your call to action. It's just kind of starting the conversation, starting to get to know people so you can start warming up your leads, basically. And again, this is very lighthearted. It's not super serious. It's just normal conversation. And then from there, you go to step 3, which is connection. This is the content that is going to say, this person gets me. She knows my day. She knows my constraints. She knows what I am struggling with. And, I just feel really seen. So you can obviously do this in your content, talking about situations they're experiencing related to pain points, calling out those pain points. And whenever we do pain point marketing, we need to remember it always needs to be validating. We never want to talk down to our audience about any problems they're having, right? It needs to come from a place of, I see you, I get you, you're experiencing like these feelings, these symptoms, whatever, and it really sucks. I know you're trying. Here's a better way. We can share stories here. We can share some helpful information here. Maybe your audience needs a reframe or a mindset shift around their problem. Start showing that you not only get them, but you get them so well that you know how to help them. And then in step 4 is where we start showing the proof of that. So the step 4 is trust. This is probably one of the most important steps, but it's showing that you know your stuff and that you can help other people who have those same pain points, who have those same constraints, who have those same limiting beliefs to get to whatever end result it is that you're selling, right? So it's, yes, I can help you make more sales, even if you can only work an hour or 2 a day. I can help you lose weight, even if you barely have time to meal plan and can't afford a gym membership. And then it's sharing stories of how you helped other people do those things as well. Now, like I said, trust is more important than ever because of the changes in buyer behavior that we're seeing. So make sure when you are working with people, when you're talking to people, you get permission to share their stories, share their screenshots of conversations, because a lot of the trust content that we've been seeing for social proof is pretty fake. People can generate it with AI, or they just tell stories without any information that shows, yes, this was like a real client. I remember looking at a sales page a couple months ago and looking through the testimonials on the sales page and then looking for the people who actually gave the testimonials online, like on Instagram, and they just didn't exist. It could be they didn't have Instagram, they weren't on any websites either, which made me very skeptical of this person. So a thing that I have been seeing from other online business owners is they will actually tag the person that made the testimonial, or if they're sharing like a DM of someone really excited about an offer they bought, they'll tag that person in the post or in the story. That automatically builds so much trust for me because I know it's a real person saying this and it's not made up, it's not AI, it's real. So ask the people you're talking to and working with if you can use their words, if you can use their testimonials, if you can use their results, and then ask also if you can tag them to help build that trust and that proof with your audience when you are getting ready to sell. Because after that trust stage is step number 5, which is sales. It is just clear, timely invitations. We're not doing crazy hard pitches. We don't want to be really pushy or anything. It's just, hey, I have this thing. You've been vibing with this kind of content. I think this would work great for you, and invite them to join. It's very simple. It doesn't need to be something you stress about. It's just inviting someone to join you in working with you in whatever way you've been leading up to. Whether it's a big launch or, you just have an offer that you want more people to buy. So that's it. Those are the 5 steps. Now, the 5 steps are going to look different for every business and every audience, right? I mean, obviously the framework, the overall 5 steps is the same. But some audiences might need more connection or more trust or more engagement, or like they might need longer to get from one certain step to another. They might be on one platform they might spend more time listening to podcasts than watching reels. So it's going to look different for everyone. And this is where it's always important to have done market research, which I'm assuming you have. If you haven't, definitely do that so you can make sure the effort you're putting into your marketing and your content is going to the right places and you're spending the right amount of time on it. So that is the general buyer journey. If you are someone who has been sharing lots of content but you're not seeing sales, I want you to look at your past posts and see if you can find a buyer journey in your content. Basically, are you making it very clear the next steps within this buyer journey, and are they all connected? Because if I'm selling a done for you content plan, all of the topics that I am going to be sharing in my content are connected to that offer. It's not going to be some other random, like, oh, getting engagement. It's all going to be related to that one particular offer. So make sure they're connected in that way. And then also there's a clear path from having the right followers, starting conversations, showing you're the right person for the job with connection, building trust, and then inviting them to buy. And if you have all those 5 steps, expand on them, see if you need more connection or more trust before people are ready to buy. I mean, that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. Share even more of those things. And it's fine if you're repeating yourself in your content. You want to do it. You need to repeat yourself. You can share the same story in different ways. Share it as a case study, share it as a before and after, share just the testimonial for trust. Like, repeat yourself as much as you need to. Don't be afraid to do that. This is something we work on in the membership a lot because there's no one specific blueprint that's going to work for every business. I've shifted my membership to be more me working with you to find the right content plan and the right buyer journey and the right messaging and all of that, instead of just handing you templates and saying, here you go, because it's just not as helpful, especially now that buyers are taking longer to actually buy. So we have been seeing with my members, people needing more trust posts and more connection before they're ready to buy, and also having longer launch runways. So instead of having a few days where there's an open cart period, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a week and a half. And that doesn't mean you have to be sending emails twice a day, every day. It's just a little longer so people can have more time to decide if it's right for them. And that's totally fine. Another thing that might be going on if you do have really good content, if it maps out your buyer journey very well, it might be your messaging. That's a thing that we have found with some members, and I actually made a whole messaging workbook so that people can really dig into what they should be saying in their content that speaks to their ideal audience instead of just surface level pain points that everyone and their mom talks about in content, because that's not going to get the connection and trust that you need, especially now that buyers need more trust than ever before they're ready to invest. I had one client send me a message and tell me that after doing the messaging workbook, she finally knew what to say in each post. And it really helped with those trust and connection steps for her. Stop being guesswork, and they started working for her. So if you want more help mapping out your content with having the buyer journey, having it all connected to your offer, having the right messaging, that's exactly what we do inside the membership. It's called Content to Clients. We have monthly calls and a Slack channel so I can help you build out your 5 steps in your content. You get the strategy, you get support, you get feedback on your posts, on your plans. I had one member tell me she loved having a copywriting and messaging genius in her back pocket. And that's exactly what I want to create here with the membership. Much more personal support in a time where templates and blueprints just aren't cutting it anymore, because every audience is different. Every business is different. What works for you isn't going to work for someone else. And I want to be able to support people with that and find what does work for them. So I will put a link for that in the show notes if you're interested in that kind of help. And if not, but you still want more information on the buyer journey, I have a free example of what it might look like in the buyer journey content map in the show notes. It will give you a small taste and a clear place to start to make sure all your content is working together to cover those 5 stages. And also making sure your content is linked together to support one offer. So go ahead and check the show notes for a link to the buyer journey content map as a starting point as well. And as a reminder, you don't need more posts. You need the right posts in the right order. Cover the buyer journey steps I just outlined. Don't overthink it. Just keep it consistent, keep it on topic, and I will be back in your earbuds next week with more marketing and messaging help. That's it for this episode of Mompreneur Mastery. If you're building a business around your life, not the other way around, and you're tired of being told to hustle harder to make sales when you're already hustling at 110%, I hope this gave you a breath of fresh air. And if it did, I would love it if you left a quick review or shared this with another mom entrepreneur who is ready to market with more strategy and way less stress. And if you want to see what a cohesive content map across multiple platforms with strategic messaging looks like, check out the link in the show notes to grab your free copy of the Buyer Journey Content Map. I'll see you next time.